welcome back. Thank you for joining me again. So today we're going to talk about the first year of marriage and my experience, my personal experience, what I learned that can make that first year a little bit easier to maneuver, to work around, and to deal with. And every situation is different, of course, but I'll tell you a little bit of background of my situation, and then you can place yours wherever you want in that spectrum. I met my husband in high school. We fell in love, wanted to get married, and we got married after college. So I've known him for a long time, and in that time we built trust and understood each other and knew why we wanted to get married. But despite knowing somebody and understanding somebody, it's very difficult to live with them and having to make decisions every day with this other person. So even though we knew each other very well at that point, or at least we thought we did, all of our little decision-making habits and all of our little quirks were new to us when we got married. And so for me, my first year, at least on my side, was very difficult. I was really excited to be marrying my best friend, and I was very happy, and that didn't diminish, like the excitement and the wanting to be married and the love didn't diminish, but it was harder than I thought. So it was more like a shock. So it was like, a whole bunch of arguing and a whole bunch of misunderstandings and reading too much into what is said or isn't said, what is done or isn't done. So there's a lot of ways you can take, and depending on the type of person you are, your communication style, there is a lot that goes into, figuring out what the other person's saying. And oftentimes we're trying to be understood without trying to understand. And so it costs a lot of friction. It was the most argument-filled year, but I feel like the best in terms of we've learned about each other. Like, it was a time of exploration in each other's values, the way we looked at life, the way we looked at marriage. So I feel like that's extremely helpful. One of the first tips I would say is try to figure out the communication style of your partner. And in my other video about 5 questions to ask before getting married, I think touched on that. But watch that first too if you're not married yet. It might be helpful. But anyway, I would say try to figure out your partner's communication style, especially if you haven't known each other that long, but even if you have known each other that long. Because I think when you haven't known each other that long, you're a lot more likely to be ready for difference of opinion, difference of point of view in life. But when you've convinced yourself that you know this person very well, the differences can kind of be a shock to the system. In my experience, communication has been the issue when it comes to, disagreements, misunderstandings, and all the feelings that come with that. And when you are just new to each other, everything seems to kind of just be a lot bigger than it is. Like now that we've been married for 6 years, it's the same issues, the same arguments are nonsense. They have no place in our lives right now. But at the time they were big, they were very important, and we had to go through them to be able to get to where we are now. And it only became something that we understood each other about after we talked about it, after we had long discussions about what are your needs and what are my needs. I think communication is overall, it's the thing that is required for you to have a healthy any type of relationship, whether it's marriage, with your children, with your family, whatever it is. You need to be able to figure out how the other person wants to be understood, and then you seek to be understood as well. So that way you know how to approach a problem whenever it arises. The second most important thing is compromise. Now you guys are married, you're living with your spouse. Now you are responsible to each other and for each other. It's inevitable that you're going to be responsible for things that you don't like to do. I really dislike cleaning bathrooms, and so I told him that, but there are numerous times where I have to, like bathing the kids, or somebody's coming over and he's not there, or he's doing something else, then I have to clean up. Dishes. He hates the dishes, and I don't mind doing dishes, so I do all the dishes. But if I'm not there and there are dishes to be done, that's his responsibility to get done. But anyway, so that was our compromise, was he was gonna do the bathrooms and I would do the dishes. It works out unless when it doesn't, and when it doesn't, the other person does the job, because it's not your job. And sometimes you can use it as leverage, like I'll do this if you do this for me. So it kind of works out to make deals as well. Those little issues, even though they sound really little, can become big things if it's not discussed, if it's not put out there, right? Because if you are married for an entire year and you've been angry that entire year, then you're gonna build that up and it's gonna bust out at some point. Because a lot of the things in marriage, they happen and then you figure out how you feel about them. But as much as you can foresee it, as much as you can discuss it, especially the things that are deep within your heart, try to talk about those. In this way, I would say clarify what is completely below the belt for you. So one of the biggest things that we've practiced that rarely ever got out of hand for us is making sure to never belittle each other or go from a point of weakness. Like, you know, I know something has an insecurity about, not going after that thing to hurt him in order to, you know, get back at him for hurting me. If you cross that line and you hit below the belt, then that's when you can go as far as you want in attacking each other, in hurting each other. But when there's a limit, when there's that limit, there's respect, right? You can be angry, you can be upset, and you can say that without ever going across that line. That, I think, can deteriorate marriage completely, because there's no longer respect, there's no trust. You're diminishing the trust. You're basically saying, I will use anything and everything I know about you to win the argument, to win the fight. One of the other things that happened in the first year of marriage is that we have really high expectations of each other. You know, that you've only gotten to know the best version of this person, right? And so in your head, this is how they are every single day, which is completely ridiculous, because nobody is how they are when they're talking to each other, when they're first dating, when they're getting to know each other. Nobody is the way they are normally, like in their everyday life. So be prepared for that. Do not be shocked when this person is another normal human being who makes mistakes, who's not perfect, who's gonna not understand everything you say and everything you do, even if you are soulmates meant for each other and you can see your entire future, like you know this person is your person. Even then, this person is just another human being. And high expectations tend to honestly just create the worst situations, because when you are judging this person for their bad issues or their bad habits or whatever it is, you're not judging them for who they are, their level. You're judging them against your perception, your expectation of who they were. So keep your expectations manageable, but also talk about your expectations. You don't have to have like really low expectations of this human being because you love them. It's very hard to have low expectations of somebody you love, but like expecting the least and then receiving whatever is that and being grateful for it is better than expecting the most and then being ungrateful when the person is doing the best they can. Figure out what this person considers romance. Like, do you consider romance having your husband buy you flowers or your wife buy you flowers? If that's the case, then make sure you tell them that. Or if you are the type of person that likes to go for long walks or a run outside or go hiking, whatever it is, your intimate moments and things you find comfort in, tell your spouse that. Don't expect them to know it. Tell them, like, this is the things that I would like it for you to do for me. The way that we've been wired, it's like not to say what you need, to kind of just hint at it. I don't believe in it. Honestly, I think that's crazy. Don't hint at the things that make you happy. Tell them the things that make you happy. And, you know, hopefully bypass all of the ridiculous messing up and guessing and the anger that can come out of that, so your spouse doesn't have to guess what you need for you to feel loved and comforted and be in a romantic place, but they know it because you've expressed to them, this is what I need. And there's nothing that says you cannot tell the other person what you need. It doesn't make what you need less valuable. Figure out what your spouse needs from you in order to feel loved and comforted and to be in a romantic place, and then do those things for them as much as you can. The next thing is forgiveness. I think, oh my god, forgiveness takes so much energy, and a lot of the time I think forgiveness is both the easiest and the hardest thing to do, because a lot of the time you feel like you've forgiven this person, it feels like it, but then 2 arguments later you're talking about the old argument you've had. A lot of the time, if you haven't intentionally forgiven this person and decided that this situation was in the past and it doesn't define them and it doesn't define your relationship, it can come back. It can keep coming back. And trust me, I've had experience where it comes back. And honestly, when it comes back for me, I didn't even know it was there until I blurred it all out, and then shocked myself, shocked my spouse, and then it's like, you know, trying to figure it out and get to the bottom of it, because the argument was, you know, was nothing to do with this, but now this is what we're talking about. So, and being open to criticism. when your spouse criticizes you for whatever reason, right? Like if they have good reason for it and they're explaining to you, this is something that you do that I don't like, or that's not good for our relationship or our marriage, please work on it, you know? And a lot of the time, people don't say that nicely. When they're bothered, the criticism can be a lot harsher. But if it's something that keeps coming back, and trying as much as you can, especially if you're the one with a criticism to express to your spouse, being as gentle as you can so they don't get too defensive, that is extremely important, right? Listening as the person who's being criticized, and criticizing gently as the person who's doing the criticizing, because it's not worth it to criticize too harshly, but it's also not worth it to just, you know, go around the point and never say why this person is bothering you when they do ABC. Explain why it bothers you, why they should stop, or at least diminish it or decrease it or do it differently, whatever it is, to make your marriage work, to make your relationship better. This is the year that you notice every flaw. You notice all these weird flaws this other person has. Every rom-com, you know how they leave the toothpaste cap open and then like one of the spouses is just disgusted, upset, literally like that. So yeah, like making sure that you notice that these little quirks, these issues, and these ways that they do things are some of the reasons why you love them to begin with. You just didn't know just how different you actually were. So keeping all of that in mind, first year of marriage is going to be wonderful, but it's not always going to be this lovey-dovey, romantic, Bollywood type experience. First year of marriage is going to be a lot of new experiences, a lot of things you get to do with your spouse, getting to know them, a lot of weird, funny things you get to know. You get to, you know, have a lot more inside jokes, and they get to see all of your weird quirks that you never share with anybody else. But that is it for this video. I really hope it was helpful or insightful in some way. If you have any questions or suggestions, please put them in the comment section down below, and your experiences about your first year of marriage, I'd really like to know. And if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. It would really mean a lot to me, and I will see you in the next video.